What if the incompetence you see in positions of power is not an accident? What if the leaders who make you shake your head in disbelief, the ones who seem utterly unfit for their roles, were placed there by design? The uncomfortable truth is that foolish leaders do not rise despite the system. They rise because of it. Think about this for a moment. Throughout history, across every civilization, every empire, every corporation, we witness the same strange phenomenon. Individuals who lack wisdom, who lack vision, who lack the basic qualities we associate with leadership, somehow find themselves holding the reins of power. We attribute this to corruption, to nepotism, to the randomness of fate. But what if there is something far more calculated at work? What if the architecture of power itself demands the presence of fools at the top? The ancient Greeks understood something we have forgotten. They called it the curse of competence. Plato warned us in the Republic that the best rulers would never seek power, for the wise understand that leadership is a burden, not a prize. Meanwhile, those who hunger for control, those who crave the throne, often do so precisely because they lack the self-awareness to recognize their own limitations. But here is where it gets darker. The systems that govern our world, whether political, corporate, or institutional, do not simply tolerate incompetent leaders, they actively select for them. Why would any system want a fool at the helm? The answer lies in understanding what systems truly want. Systems do not care about progress. They do not care about innovation. They do not care about the well-being of those they govern. Systems care about one thing and one thing only, their own survival. And foolish leaders are perfect for ensuring that survival. A wise leader might question the system. A wise leader might demand reform. A wise leader might dismantle structures that no longer serve the people. But a fool is predictable. A fool is controllable. A fool keeps the machinery running exactly as it was designed to run, without ever asking whether the machine should exist in the first place. Consider the corporate world. How many times have you watched someone get promoted, not because of their brilliance, but because of their compliance? The employee who challenges inefficient processes, who speaks truth to power, who demands better. They are labeled as difficult, as not a team player, as someone who does not fit the culture. Meanwhile, the one who nods along, who never questions, who makes those above them feel comfortable, they climb the ladder with astonishing speed. This is not a malfunction. This is the system working exactly as intended. Organizations do not promote based on competence. They promote based on perceived safety, and nothing feels safer to a system than someone who will never threaten its existence. But let us go deeper. This phenomenon extends far beyond boardrooms and corner offices. It touches the very fabric of how societies organize themselves. The philosopher Bertrand Russell observed that the trouble with the world is that the stupid are cocksure, and the intelligent are full of doubt. This is not merely a clever observation. It is a description of a selection mechanism. Confidence, even when unfounded, signals leadership potential to those who control access to power. Meanwhile, wisdom, which by its very nature includes uncertainty and nuance, appears as weakness to systems that demand decisiveness above all else. Have you ever wondered why history's greatest empires fell? We learn about the barbarians at the gates, the economic collapses, the plagues and famines. But beneath every fall, there is a quieter story. The story of how the systems that built those empires slowly selected for leaders who could maintain the status quo, but could never adapt to changing circumstances. Rome did not fall because of the Visigoths. Rome fell because its system of power had spent centuries promoting those who would preserve existing structures over those who might save the civilization. By the time the crisis came, there was no one left at the top capable of responding. If this idea already resonates with something you have felt but could not name, imagine what comes next. Subscribe to join this journey of revelation. Now, let us bring this home. Let us talk about what this means for you, for your life, for the frustrations you carry every day. Think about the manager who makes decisions that baffle you. Think about the politician whose statements leave you wondering how they ever achieved office. Think about the leader in your community, your church, your organization, who seems to create more problems than they solve. Your instinct is to blame them. Your instinct is to wonder how someone so obviously unqualified could end up in charge. But here is what I want you to understand. Your frustration, though valid, is misdirected. You are angry at the puppet when you should be examining the strings. The system that elevated those leaders is counting on your frustration. It is counting on you directing your energy toward individuals rather than structures. Every moment you spend asking, how did this person become our leader, is a moment you are not asking, why does our system consistently produce such leaders? And that question, the second question, is the one those in real power never want you to ask. There is a concept in psychology called learned helplessness. It describes what happens when people are subjected to conditions they cannot control. Eventually, they stop trying to change anything at all. They accept their circumstances as inevitable. The presence of foolish leaders serves this function perfectly. When we see incompetence rewarded again and again, when we watch wisdom passed over in favor of mediocrity, something inside us begins to believe that this is simply how things are. We lose faith in the possibility of genuine leadership. We lower our expectations. We become governable. But here is the secret that transforms everything. The very mechanism that keeps foolish leaders in power is also the system's greatest vulnerability. Because systems that select for compliance over competence, for safety over innovation, for control over wisdom, contain within themselves the seeds of their own destruction. They become brittle. They lose the ability to adapt. They create hierarchies so detached from reality that they cannot respond when reality inevitably demands a response. History offers us endless examples of this brittleness shattering. The Soviet Union did not collapse because of external pressure alone. It collapsed because decades of selecting leaders based on loyalty to the party rather than competence in governance created a leadership class incapable of confronting the contradictions within their own system. Kodak did not fall because digital photography was inherently superior. Kodak fell because its internal system had spent years promoting leaders who saw innovation as a threat rather than an opportunity. By the time the crisis arrived, the company's leadership was constitutionally incapable of changing course. So what do we do with this knowledge? How do we navigate a world where the systems around us actively select for foolishness? The first step is recognition. Stop being surprised. Stop wasting emotional energy on outrage at individual leaders. Instead, train yourself to see the system behind the face. Every time you encounter incompetent leadership, ask yourself, what does this system value? What behaviors does it reward? What behaviors does it punish? This shift in perspective is not just intellectual, it is liberating. You stop feeling like a victim of random stupidity and start seeing yourself as someone who understands the game. The second step is strategic disengagement. Not from the world, that is the path of cynicism, which serves no one, but from the expectation that you can change these systems by working within their existing rules. Systems that select for foolish leaders have mechanisms to identify and neutralize those who might threaten the arrangement. If you rise within such a system while maintaining your wisdom, you will eventually face a choice: become what the system demands or be expelled. Neither outcome serves your higher purpose. The third step, and this is crucial, is building alternatives. The most powerful act of resistance against systems that select for foolishness is the creation of new systems that select for wisdom. This might mean starting an organization with different values embedded in its structure from the beginning. It might mean forming communities that explicitly reject the hierarchies that produce incompetent leaders. It might mean supporting and nurturing leaders in your own life based on their genuine qualities rather than their ability to play political games. But there exists a secret even more profound that few ever discover. The deepest truth about foolish leaders is not about them at all. It is about us. Systems do not exist in some abstract realm. They are created, maintained and perpetuated by human beings, by our choices, our acceptance, our participation. Every time we accept the legitimacy of a leader we know to be unfit, we feed the system. Every time we follow orders we know to be foolish, we strengthen the mechanism. Every time we teach our children that success means climbing within existing structures rather than questioning those structures, we ensure another generation of foolish leaders. The philosopher Hannah Arendt, who studied how ordinary people become complicit in systems of evil, described something she called the banality of evil. But there is also something we might call the banality of foolishness. It does not require villains twirling their moustaches. It only requires enough people choosing convenience over confrontation, choosing security over truth, choosing the comfort of the familiar over the uncertainty of genuine change. This is why the selection of foolish leaders will continue until we change, not the leaders, not even the systems, but ourselves, until we stop valuing the appearance of strength over the reality of wisdom, until we stop rewarding confidence over competence, until we develop the courage to say that the emperor has no clothes, even when everyone around us insists on praising his wardrobe. The revolution does not begin in the halls of power. It begins in your own heart. It begins when you decide that you will no longer participate in systems that demand your complicity in foolishness. It begins when you commit to cultivating genuine wisdom in yourself and recognizing it in others. It begins when you build relationships, communities and organizations founded on different principles. The system wants you to believe that foolish leaders are inevitable. The system wants you to believe that this is simply how power works. But history is full of moments when people stopped believing the lies they were told and started building something new. Every great transformation began with individuals who refused to accept the selection criteria their systems imposed. You are now faced with a choice. You can continue to rage at the fools who lead us while unconsciously supporting the systems that produce them. Or you can begin the harder, slower, more rewarding work of transforming yourself and your world. The wise have always known that real change begins within. The foolish leader is a mirror, reflecting back to us our own acceptance of systems we know to be broken. What will you see when you finally look? If this message has stirred something in you, if you feel ready to see the world differently, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Like, comment, and subscribe to continue this journey together. Because the path to wisdom is not walked alone. It is walked with those who dare to question, to grow, to transform. And that path begins now.